Morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. So, Nella, you were correct that I would enjoy hearing about your trip to the museum and seeing your footage and hearing your thoughts on the exhibit. Yes, I did enjoy that. um, I don't know. I guess I have thoughts about Barbie, sort of, like, kinda. I'm not. I was not a doll child. I sometimes felt like I was supposed to play with dolls because, when you were a little girl, in the 80s, still, there were a lot of, I think we are gradually losing a lot of, gendered toys, but still, in the 80s, still a lot of extremely gendered toys. And, you know, I people try to make you play with dolls, and I was not interested in dolls at all. I was not particularly interested in Barbie. I was not particularly, I wasn't a very girly child either, and so that was kind of like a double strike against Barbie, because not only was Barbie herself, very girly, but then also, people sort of pushed her on you, So, Barbie was not really my thing. I did have, a couple of Barbies that, people had given me, but I didn't ask for any of those except for one, which I did ask for out of pure spite. There is a story there, as you can imagine, but it is not really relevant to the current discussion. I will tell it if you are interested in hearing about it. It is purely about extracting something from an adult who is being obnoxious to me, essentially. And I was like, you know what? It's like a fairness issue, and I was very I am not leaving here until I get that Barbie. So yeah, that was the only Barbie I ever willingly got. I had I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 altogether. I actually can't remember. I never played with them. They just sat there. I had a couple of baby dolls that either people had given me or that were just kind of around, because there's so much stuff in this house that has belonged to various generations, that sometimes stuff is just here and you don't really know where it came from. So I had a couple of baby dolls, but I didn't play with them either. They just kind of sat in the back of the closet. So yeah, Barbie was not really my personal thing. I do remember there being a lot of Barbie discourse in say the mid 80s when I was, a little kid. I remember there being a lot of very black and white, is Barbie good or is Barbie bad? And a lot of sort of Barbie backlash, right? Barbie is bad for girls, which I think it's like you say, I think there's I think Barbie is, and was intended to be, in a lot of ways, was intended to be a good role model, a feminist role model. She was, as you say, a professional woman, and had a lot of very independent, she was a very independent woman, which was a big thing, but not unproblematic. And I don't remember at the time there being a lot of gray area. Like I said, it was very black and white. Honestly, the biggest thing that I have an actual personal memory of as a kid that was Barbie related, that was a big deal, in terms of like Barbie discourse was Math is Hard Barbie. Like, do you remember this? I don't know if you have heard about this story. I don't know how famous this is as like a piece of Barbie lore, but essentially, they they put out a Barbie that had like it was a new thing. They had like a recording in there. You pressed a button or something, and Barbie would say these phrases, and she didn't actually say math is hard, although that is how everyone has remembered it. She said something like, "Wow, math class is tough," or something like that. And there were a whole bunch of different ones. They were about like different school subjects and stuff. That just was one of the phrases that she said, and people were, I mean, enraged about it because of the implication that like girls couldn't do math, girls were bad at math, which was legitimately like a real thing that people were still thinking and saying in the 80s, that girls could not do math, and that like that there was like some kind of legitimate like brain difference between boys and girls, and the boys could do math and science but girls could not. Like, so there was a reason for people to be upset, but also like, you know, that is the big Barbie controversy that I remember clearly myself. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing all of like the different Barbies that you were showing in your footage. Like, there's so many Barbies. Again, I do not have that much like personal Barbie knowledge, but like, you know, Barbie's everywhere, so you can only like, you can't really escape knowing stuff about Barbie because Barbie. And there are so many of them, and I can remember like as a kid there being a lot of like Barbie collectible versions of Barbie, and like of Barbie's friends, sort of people in the Barbie universe. I'm trying to remember if I can, like, I'm trying to think of like particular Barbies that were a thing when I was a kid, but I can't remember any of them except Math is Hard Barbie because she was the one that blew up. They had to take her off the market, I believe, because it went so badly from a publicity standpoint. I feel like I was heading towards some particular point that I was going to make there, and I have completely lost whatever it was, so I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know. I think of Barbie as complex. She's been around for so many decades at this point. And there have been so many versions of Barbie. And people put so much of their own baggage onto Barbie, I think, as well. That she's a very complex figure, I think, in our mythology. I don't really like, people have been talking about the Barbie movie, you know, and I did not even really know that it was happening until recently. But like, I've been seeing people talking about it a lot in the past few days, like past week or whatever it is. So I feel like we're due for another like huge round of like Barbie discourse, which I imagine will be interesting. I get the feeling from the way that I've been seeing people talking about it, there's a lot of like nostalgia for Barbie right at the moment, which I think, I mean, she's been around a long time. Like, there's a lot of nostalgia. Like, I get it. I think it kind of goes in cycles, you know? Like, Barbie good, Barbie bad. I think it kind of goes in, I don't know, waves maybe rather than cycles. I remember there being a lot of kids like you said that you weren't allowed to play with Barbies. I remember there being a lot of like parents that were doing that when I was a kid. Like, not necessarily when I was really, really little. I mean, maybe they were. I don't know. I did not really come from a Barbie household, so who knows what other people's parents were doing. I had trucks that I played with as a small child and stuffed animals. Like, I didn't really do dolls. But yeah, like I can remember even as I got a little bit older, like I can remember still like hearing other people's parents saying that they didn't like their kids playing with Barbies or whatever, because, you know, Barbie was anti-feminist or whatever. There was like a big thing of kind of re-examining like fairy tales and dolls and things like that in the 80s. And like I can remember there was a big thing about not letting children read fairy tales because it was bad for them. You know, the idea being that it like encouraged them to have unrealistic views of life or something. I can remember once when I was in middle school encountering a kid who was like a few years older than me, who a group of us had started having a conversation about something, and somebody mentioned Cinderella, I think, or possibly Snow White. I think it was Cinderella. And he just had no idea at all what anyone was talking about. And one of the other girls was like, you know, Cinderella, like with the slipper and the thing and the, you know, and she was trying to like, you know, Cinderella. And he was just like, had no idea what she was talking about at all. Apparently he had not been allowed to have any contact with fairy tales as a child. How his parents managed to keep him so sheltered from fairy tales that he didn't even know what Cinderella was is I cannot imagine, but I guess they did. But yeah, I can remember that happening a lot with Barbie. Like there was a period where there was a lot of like a lot of people not allowing their children to play with Barbie because she was bad. I don't think that I have a strong opinion one way or the other. I think she can be both things at the same time, I think, is the issue. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very tired, and my brain is getting pretty squishy right now. So I'm sorry, I keep like starting a thought and then it just stops functioning in there somewhere. I've been talking for almost 14 minutes, so probably I am done with this. Anyway, thank you for showing us around the exhibit and talking about it and stuff, because it was really interesting and I enjoy it. So, okay, I'm done. I love everybody, and I will see you next week. Don't forget to be awesome.